A little boy of 13 was on his way to school. He heard a crowd of people laughing and he went to take a look. Thousands were listening to the stories of one man. He spoke with such wisdom, even the kids could understand. The hours passed so quickly, the day turned into night. Everyone was hungry, but there was no food in sight. The boy looked in his lunchbox at the little that he had. He wasn't sure what good it'd do. There were thousands to be fed, but he saw the twinkling eyes of Jesus, the kindness in his smile, and the boy cried out with the trust of a child. He said, "Take my 5 loaves and 2 fishes, do with it as you will. I surrender. Take my fears, my inhibitions, all my burdens, my ambitions. You can use it all to feed them all." I often think about that boy when I'm feeling small, and I worry that the work I do means nothing at all. But every single tear I cry is a diamond in his hand. And every door that slams in my face I will offer up in prayer. So I'll give you every breath that I have. Oh Lord, you can work miracles. All you need is my amen. So take my 5 loaves and 2 fishes, do with it as you will. I surrender. Take my fears, my inhibitions, all my burdens, my ambitions. You can use it all. I hope it's not too small. I trust in you. I trust in you. So take my 5 loaves and 2 fishes, do with it as you will. I surrender. Take my fears, my inhibitions, all my burdens, my ambitions. You can use it all. No gift is too small.
Mary, help of Christians, pray for us. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Good morning, educators. This is Tina de Guzman from Don Bosco Press Incorporated. Welcome to SalesianaBooks Chalk Talk Online. SalesianaBooks Chalk Talk Online is an online teacher training program that Don Bosco Press provides for its partner schools. It is another exciting Saturday with you, educators. In this last episode of the Curriculum Design in the New Normal series, we shall be learning on implementation and evaluation. I will no longer keep you waiting. Let's start. To formally welcome you and to introduce our speaker, may I call in the Executive Director of Don Bosco Press Inc., Brother Carmelo Martinez, SDB.
Thank you, Ms. Tina.
You're welcome.
Good morning to all of you, our dear participants in this Chalk Talk online series brought to you by Don Bosco Press in partnership with the Curriculum Studies Association of the Philippines. It is another beautiful Saturday morning. We are now in the month of September, and we are happy to be here with you today for this another enriching session. As has been our practice, may I launch a poll asking you, how do you feel this morning? For others, you may want to type your answer on the chat box. Okay, thank you for responding to our poll. It's nice to be in the company of participants who are happy, who are excited, who are inspired and motivated. There are also those who feel anxious. It's okay. We become aware of our feeling and we stay on with our feelings. But we hope that this session will make you happier, will make you even more motivated and inspired. Thank you for answering our first poll. We are now on our last installment of this series on curriculum design in the new normal. And we are here again for another interesting discussion with our topic that focuses on the implementation and monitoring of our curriculum. We are truly grateful to Doc Ami and to the Curriculum Studies Association of the Philippines for partnering with us and for helping us provide you with concrete, practical, and relevant input on curriculum design, especially at this time of pandemic. We thank you too, our dear participants, for your active presence and involvement during our session and also especially during our question and answer portion and in the interaction. We are glad to know that this series has become very useful for all of you and your school community. Since this has become a weekly activity for most of us, may I just again check your attendance, whether you have participated in all the previous sessions, or 3 out of 4, or 2 out of 4, or 1 out of 4 sessions, or if this 5th session is going to be your first time. Okay. I think majority are loyalty awardees. We have around 55% of our participants this morning have been present since the first session. Yeah, and around 36% of our participants have been here have been attending sessions, 3 out of 4 sessions. And then a small percentage have been present for 2 out of 4 sessions. And yeah, and also there are those who are joining us only for the first time. So we welcome our old timers and thank you for joining us once again. And we welcome as well our new timers, and we hope that, like all of us, you'll also have an enriching morning today. In case you have missed the previous sessions of this series, we have already uploaded the videos in our YouTube channel. Just type Don Bosco Press, and please feel free to use, share, and download them as well. We will be very happy to know that you find them useful. I just have one last question to ask. Since this is going to be our last session for this series, will you be interested to have another series on a related topic? Of course, to be facilitated again by Doc Ami. A related topic on in the area of curriculum and curriculum design. So, Doc Ami, I think it's 100% yes. So, we'll have to start planning for another session or series of sessions on a related and relevant topic. If you have any topic in mind, please type in the chat box so we would have also an idea on what you are expecting. Once again, welcome to this session of the last session of the Curriculum Design in the New Normal series. Muli, maraming salamat po at pagpalain tayo ng buong may kapal. Our speaker this morning is Dr. Amelia C. Fajardo. Doc Ami has been our mentor and guide for these past 4 weeks that we have been learning, discovering, and reviewing about curriculum. And we truly wish that we would still have many opportunities for collaboration with her and with CSAP in the future. Doc Ami is an associate professor at the College of Education of the University of the Philippines, Diliman, Curriculum Studies and Teacher Education. She completed her Bachelor of Science, major in biology degree from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, as well as her certificate in science teaching and her Master's of Education degree from the same university. She completed her Doctor of Philosophy in Education, major in Curriculum and Instruction from Hiroshima University in Japan. A respected resource speaker, researcher, and trainer, Doc Ami has also published articles and presented papers in conferences and fora both here and abroad, especially on topics that focus on education, curriculum, and instruction. She has also been an Erasmus Mundus Research Fellow and most recently, a Fulbright Senior Research Fellow. Friends, we're happy to welcome once again Dr. Amelia C. Fajardo.
Okay.
Hi, Doc Ami. Good morning.
Good morning. Maraming salamat, Brother Nelo, for the always kind introduction. Good morning, everybody. This is our last Saturday. We will focus on the implementation and monitoring. So, without wasting another minute, let me start off with my presentation for today. Okay. I think in most of the pub material that has been sent and disseminated by Don Bosco, it was on implementation and monitoring. But my slide says implementation and evaluation. And you will see later on the very close connection between monitoring and uh, evaluation. So for this session, I will have a review of the last webinar and then walk you through to implementation, the process, um, the stages, and then monitoring while you're implementing and some of the possible tools. And then I will stop with monitoring, but I want to relate the monitoring results with uh, the entire evaluation, which most people would always think of it as the summative evaluation. Okay, so let's start with the review. So most of you have seen this last time. This is the development. of the this is the instructional design model that I've been using, the Dick and Racer. um, it, Dick and Racer proposed this for instructional designing, but I think without, for example, if I present this and you would not know that it is for instruction, it can also be applied to curriculum development. But during that time, instruction was always interchangeably used with curriculum. So we have gone through this, no? That's the webinar 1, 2, and 3 and 4. Last time was planning activities and teaching strategies and assessment. Now, last time was on this development of assessment tools, and we are now here at the second set. So last week I emphasized the alignment of the instructional elements, no? Learning intent being the main focal point. From here emerged everything. This is the basis for your learning content together with the context, social context. And then the learning intent is also the basis in determining your learning strategies, and the assessment should be based on the learning intent. So if you develop the assessment method or tools based on the learning intent, then you are assured that your assessment is valid and aligned. If this is aligned, we are assured that the assessment tools are valid. Okay, I also would like you to recall the importance of assessment. It provides ideas of our students' progress, the individual strengths and weaknesses of our students, and it also measures well how much of the students have been achieving our learning outcomes. So we want to know so that we can make certain adjustments in our plan. Then I focused on performance-based assessment since our curriculum is competency-based and there are performance standards in the curriculum. So it is just appropriate that we use the performance-based assessment, which measures the performance, the level of performance. And these are some of the examples that I mentioned last time. Writing 2 paragraphs. So you would know that if the students have written 2 paragraphs, then you are able to achieve the performance. Writing a biography, prepare temperature, etc., etc. So focus more on what one can be able to do, and that's very easy to measure. And then I also shared with you some of the tips that was given by an author. You can follow her through this link. And she said we have to grade fairly and consistently, provide effective feedback. I showed a video on this, and we have to use fair grading policies. Okay, now for today, we will focus on the implementation of instruction and how we can monitor the implementation process. Okay, so when we talk about, pause lang po ako ah. Can I request the technical group to please put me somewhere because I cannot read the slide. Yung pong mukha ko, nakikita ko. So, levels of implementation. So, una, we have to look at the classroom level. So, before you implement something, you have to look at the teacher. Are they ready? Like now, no, we have to look at the mental health of our teachers. I know so many of my students are so stressed preparing for the school year. How do they migrate? And I mentioned in webinar 1, it is not far different. We have to look at the fact that in the eventually we will go back to face because the curriculum is really meant to be delivered through F to F, not the online or remote learning. So, kailangan ho natin pangalagaan ng mga guro kasi kung walang guro, kahit na gaano kaganda ang ating plano ay hindi nabibigyan buhay. Ineffective din siya. So, kailangan tignan natin ano ba yung mental health ng ating mga teachers. No? So, kung hindi maganda, it can also affect the students. Dapat masigla ang mga teachers, okay sila, ang mental set nila. Nakakakaba nga po yung sitwasyon. So, this is the first thing we need to look into the teacher welfare when we start implementing. Okay ba sila? At ayos ba? I believe that if the teachers are not in the proper mental set, they cannot manage well the implementation of the plan. So the second will be students' readiness and performance. So let us see whether the students are ready for face-to-face mentally, and then do they have the proper facilities for them to go online? If not, are they ready for even the print materials that they're going to use? The problem with the print materials, because teachers cannot also go to them who will take care of monitoring or helping them out, assisting them in the use of the printed materials. I'm not putting down parents, no, but this is a reality. In the poor areas, the parents cannot assist because not only poor, they are very busy working. Second, mm, um, they may not have the proper educational background to assist those students. And it's not only in the Philippines, also in America, there are a lot of parents who have never gone to school, but they want their children to go to school. So these things should be very clear from us from the very beginning. And then let us look at the virtual classroom. Um, how do we set up our classroom? How do we navigate through the LMS, the Learning Management System? And then are we ready with all the learning materials? Now, there is an issue about this because if you're a teacher, since this is a work in progress, we have to think that although we need to make a plan for the entire year, uh, we also have to change the plan as we move along, and we see that there are certain things that we have overlooked as we were developing the plan. So we have to be very open in changing some of the materials, looking for new things as we move along. It's a work in progress. So, and this is also the reason why some of my colleagues in the university will be very anxious because we are required to submit the course packs for the entire semester. These are plans, and plans can change along the way. So, well, our administrators also emphasize the fact that it is a plan and we can change things along the way. But the thought of developing something for the entire semester is very stressful from the very beginning, but we have to do it. Okay, so this is at the classroom level. So while implementing, the teachers have to monitor, am I doing it right? Are there indicators among my students that they are so stressed? What do I do with it? And everything has to be documented. Now, I don't know in schools, no? In schools, if they have a certain way of communicating whatever the teachers have documented in the classroom. But documentation is very important part of monitoring. So implementation doesn't mean you just implement your plan. It's also together with the implementation is the monitoring, whether you're doing it right or not. And the remarks is very important. Okay, Now, another level of implementation would be at the grade level. Ito naman po yung mga department chairs. In small schools, it's already the principal. So the principal, from the school point of view, they also have to look at the mental health of the teachers. Are there ways of securing that they are mentally well to be engaged in this stressful situation? And then the students of the future. So they are very parallel. This is from the teacher's point of view, but this is also from the administrator's point of view. And they have to look into the progress of the student, which can be one of the indicators of effectiveness of instruction. And then the proper use of technology, and then the instructional design. The teachers implement sound pedagogy, and then the time allotment, which should also be monitored by the classroom teacher. Now, why did I place time allotment here? Because the time that we are allowed to teach is already defined, and sometimes, depending on the our learners, it can be more than the allotted time. So we spend more time on one particular unit or lesson, and you have to take note of that. Why? Because time is a function of uh, the learning curve also. Time is needed, more time is needed for some students it's less time, so we have to take note of that, uh, so that the next time around we can adjust the time for a particular lesson. uh, we have been suffering from the problem or issue of overloaded curriculum, so we try to cover, not teach effectively, but just to cover certain areas because it's part of the curriculum. But maybe these certain areas are not really essential in achieving the performance. So the first webinar two is very important, determining what are essentials. Okay, the next level will be at the school. So if you notice from the classroom, it goes up to the school. So there are certain the policy of the school. I hope they include them now. The mental health of the teachers, the student conditions, and so it has to be parallel from the school down. It has to be part of the policy, the way they implement. Now, I want this structure to be very clear. No? What I'm saying to you right now is my personal interpretation of what things have to be done during this time. Okay, so I mentioned no, when I started with this session, I told you that the pub material was implementation and monitoring, but the title of my webinar now is Implementation and Evaluation. So for me, monitoring is equivalent to the formative evaluation. So the formative evaluation is done not only by the department chair and the school head, but it is also done by the teacher. So data gathered from the classroom, the department level, and then to the school level. So this is done every lesson of the entire school year or every lesson for the entire semester. Okay, so here uh, the monitoring at the department level is the collection of the data gathered by the teachers, which are collated by the department chairs. The data are analyzed against the performance standards. So these are the things that need to be looked into, the performance standards, if they are being followed or there's an alignment from the plan to the classroom. The instructional design, is it appropriate for the lesson and for the children? Proper use of technology or absence or presence of technology. Support system, readiness and competence of teachers. Okay, readiness and competence of teachers. There are a lot of training programs right now to make the teachers qualified and competent to do online learning or online teaching. And one one training program cannot make our teachers competent altogether. There can be a series of training programs that we need to do. So readiness also is very important. Are the teachers ready psychologically, spiritually, and emotionally in handling online courses? And of course, the learning materials. So all of this, if you put them all together, are very significant inputs to the summative evaluation. So there's a link. Monitoring is actually the formative evaluation or assessment. And some authors would say formative assessment and evaluation is more important than summative evaluation. To a certain degree, I agree. To a certain degree, I agree with them. No, you don't only do the summative evaluation if there's an accreditation scheduled for accreditation. So this just popped up in my mind because many schools are really toxic when it is time to be accredited. But remember, accreditation is just documenting good practices. So if you've been documenting every minute of your lesson, you don't have to panic when the accrediting body would come in because you have all the documents ready. Okay, so why evaluate? Because it would assist us in our job, doing making decisions that would uh, lead towards the revision and more improved curriculum or instruction. And it can help us move further because we know what uh, what are good or effective and what are not good practices. And then we can make adjustment. This is very important. The curriculum is a dynamic curriculum. It's not static. It is a live curriculum. So if things need to be changed, it has to be changed, but systematically and logically done. Okay. Now, I want you, this is my own diagram. So if you have 4 years, for example, in junior high school, you have year one, year two, year three, year four. So at the end of the year, you have one set of data which would comprise your formative evaluation. And the result of this evaluation should always go back here. How do I revise? So I'm talking about minor revisions, not the big revisions. So things that will make us, particularly the approach, this one can help us improve the delivery of the curriculum at the instructional level. And then there is another arrow that goes to the second year. So in the formative evaluation here will tell the next set of teachers how much have been achieved. Pinasa natin. If you pass the students and then the students only, the profile of the students are here. So these teachers here will be guided on what should be adjusted for the second year. So the cycle moves on. And then at the end of each year, you have also report which can feed into the summative evaluation. And then that will lead to the revision of the program or curriculum. So if the program is for 4 years, at the end of the fourth year, there should be a summative evaluation and then which can make an overall uh, revision in the entire curriculum. So that's the usual question to me. How often do we do the summative evaluation? Normally, if the program is for 6 years, at the end of the first cycle, or those who started from grade 1 and finished grade 6. So at the end of the 6th year, you have to evaluate. Then another cycle. So from the start of the new curriculum until the last year, you must have to have a summative evaluation. For short training programs, immediately after the run of several training program, several run of the same training program, then you have to do the summative evaluation. Okay, so what are the documentation that we do at the classroom level for the formative evaluation? So the lesson plan, there are remarks. There should be remarks on what went well and what didn't, possible reasons for it, and then proposed changes. Then you can also have, these are about the design of the instruction, the strategies that were used, the materials. Most schools are suffering from issues of availability of resources. So you can point this out in your documentation, and then also the time allotment. If you find that the time is not sufficient to cover the lesson effectively, then of course the students' reception of the lesson and their performance. And this is the data are then given to the department chair. So they will have to make sense of the reports of the teachers. Then they do classroom observations also to validate whatever reports are given by the teachers, and then students and parents feedback. So I don't know, but I don't know if this is being done religiously by most schools. Curricularis seems to be a new set of professionals. So the department chair is also teaching, but he or she may not be a curricularist. But I find that the monitoring is it's a full-time job. It's a full-time possession because you have to do analysis of the data given to you by the teachers. Next. So taking off of the department level, then the school will have to make sense. Maybe the vice principal for academic affairs will collate everything and then give a feedback. If you have a curriculum committee, then all of this should be fed to the curriculum committee. Okay. Now, at the school level, we do not only depend on this, no, we also have to do tracer study. Sorry about this. It should be tracer study of graduates, social and cultural development in the society. The tracer study should be done on survey, questionnaire to your graduates, or maybe even FGD. How far maybe graduates from 5 years ago up to the present. So it would be a 5 year um, period. We have to trace the graduates. So you have to ask them which among the courses in the program help them in their current or help them in college or help them in work. They are some students would be very honest to tell them, um, we need this. We were not taught how to do it, so they just learned it in at work. So yun po yung problema dito, no? And for the tertiary level, I always advise the tertiary level not to sit on their laurels, even if they have a lot of graduates passing the licensure exam. They need to look at the rating of the graduates in the licensure exam. You go to PRC and you can get feedback from them, which among the test items or groups or clusters did the students did well, or where they most of them would have low grades, passing but very low. Social and cultural development, changes in the society. The society now is changing so fast. Like recently, with just for the one virus, it changed the whole world. So we have to be very resilient and vigilant to these changes. Um, it's not planned, but normally the society is not stagnant. It is changing caused by new technology, new hit culturally and socially. Okay, now what do we evaluate for the summative evaluation? So remember in webinar one, I mentioned about three dimensions of curriculum. Uh, I'm focusing only on two, because the three is already the result of the assessment measure, which is the achieved curriculum. So when you evaluate the intended curriculum, you're actually looking at three important areas, the relevance, appropriateness, and responsiveness of the curriculum, and then the alignment of all the elements. So ito po yun. So given a document, you have to look at whether it's relevant to the target audience and to the industry. Is it appropriate? And then responsiveness. So I was involved in one very big project evaluating a curriculum. And then I cannot tell you what, but this one, the relevance, appropriateness, and responsiveness of a curriculum is not generic. It depends on the target audience. So for us to come up with a standard, we have to determine how relevance, appropriateness, and responsiveness are defined by the target audience. So we have to go through the very difficult process of talking with the target audience, from the teachers, community leaders, principals, parents, teachers, the industry, with whom that particular community is interacting. And then when you evaluate implemented curriculum, I'm talking about the actual act of delivery or implementation. You are looking at the effectiveness and efficiency of the delivery. But let me give this but, the big but. But the instructional plan, when you evaluate the instructional plan, it should contain this. But since you have evaluated the curriculum and you now translate, the big assumption is that the instructional plan are already relevant, appropriate, and responsive. So you are now focusing more on the effectiveness and efficiency of the delivery. Okay? So in our program in the university, the College of Education, we have MA in Curriculum Studies and PhD in Curriculum Studies. Curriculum evaluation is only taken by the PhD students, and we don't offer curriculum evaluation at the MA. Although part of the background can be learned, some of the performance learned in some of our courses. Now, what is the logic behind this? Curriculum evaluation would demand very stiff skills in research. So when we did the evaluation, of the intended curriculum of one big community, and you talk about relevance, you go over the literature, you won't find any prescribed set of protocol on determining this. So who makes the protocol? It would be the curriculum evaluator, who should have a very strong background on research. Okay? So research project po talaga yung curriculum evaluation. Next, so ito po, I want to share with you, how we did the definition here. So the first thing you have to do is define the RAR, This is the RAR, relevance, appropriateness, and responsiveness from the perspectives of the stakeholders. So we did an interview, key informant interview, FGD, and survey. This is nationwide. So we have to go from northern Luzon down to Mindanao area. And then based on the RAR, we define the standards in this. So we define what the program goals, content, and standard. The RAR becomes now the standard of how you're going to evaluate the existing intended curriculum. Is it still relevant to the stakeholders or not? And then when we have defined the standards based on the RAR, program goals, content, and strategies. So we formulate, we draw, we draw the program goals based on the result of the RAR, and then we use these standards to um, measure the gap between the intended curriculum and the RAR standards. So with the major major procedure that we use is the curriculum mapping. Okay, it's very exciting. Next, oh, let me go back. I forgot when I was commissioned to evaluate a certain program. The program has not been evaluated for 10 years. So that was the first time I came in and did the evaluation of the intended curriculum. And lo and behold, I was really shocked to find out that not a single aspect of the original curriculum 10 years before was changed. Nothing was changed in the intended curriculum. But whether they implement it as it is, that's a different question. Okay? Now, what to evaluate in the implemented curriculum? So when we talk about effectiveness, these are some of the questions that we usually do. Are program outcomes clearly formulated? Because this is the basis of everything that you do inside the classroom. Are the annual, monthly, weekly targets achieved? Then you have the inputs from the formative evaluation from the teachers. It is important that indicators of effectiveness and efficiency, just like the relevance, appropriateness, and responsiveness of the input, should be well defined. The definition can vary from one institution to another, but there can be, you can go to the literature and it will guide you as to how effectiveness and efficiency are defined in certain institutions. Okay, now then the cycle starts all over again. So after the evaluation, we are now ready to revise the intended curriculum. We validate the intended curriculum. We do the unpacking, which is the instructional designing, and then the implementation. We do the monitoring again and evaluation, and we go back to the intended curriculum. Okay, I want to borrow this slide from one of our speakers in our conference of curriculum studies. Uh, it is we don't only evaluate the curriculum or the product, but we have to evaluate the process that goes with it, goes with the curriculum development. So, and I agree with him, we have to evaluate the situational analysis, which is an important part of the curriculum development process. How is it done? Because if the situational analysis that provides the basis for the development or planning is not well done, the curriculum planning is very much affected. Okay, so we also have to make sure that the curriculum planning follows a very good process. So we evaluate the process. Here we also evaluate how the curriculum implementation and monitoring is being done? Are they asking the right questions? Are the tools used for monitoring correct? Are the tools for the process involved in developing or designing the instruction also good, or are there missing steps? And then we also have to evaluate the curriculum evaluation process. So all of the processes involved, uh, part of the curriculum development should be evaluated. So when we talk about evaluation, we don't only evaluate the product of the process, but we also evaluate the process that results into the product. Okay, now allow me to be a little academic now. And these are some of the curriculum evaluation models that are found in the literature. I think CIPP is very common in the Philippines. It stands for content, input, a context, input, process, product. And it is developed by Stafford Bean. So this is really very magnanimous, very, very expensive. So they wanted the context would be part of the situational analysis. Now, what is the input that you put into the development process? And then the process itself, and then definitely the product. So there are certain protocols for each of the steps. This integrated in the CIPP model is the formative evaluation. Kirkpatrick is very popular in the corporate setting, mga training program. It has 4 levels. This is very useful in a closed system. What do I mean closed system? In a corporate world, you have the training being conducted by the human resource. And the trainees are employees of the company and they go back to their workplace. So from the time that they underwent the training is being evaluated. That's the first step. And then they go back to work after and they are being followed up to see whether there's an impact. Now, if it's an open system, like when you graduate from one school and then you go out, the impact of the training on the industry would be very difficult to follow through. So kaya ito very popular siya sa closed system. But we're trying out one of the studies. Two of my graduate students are working on modifying the Kirkpatrick model to be used in internship program. So the school is providing the internship in collaboration with the hospital. So we will try to modify some of the protocols of Kirkpatrick. The illuminative model by Hamilton and Parler is very good to elucidate some areas that are not clear. No? Because, for example, year in, year out, we would see the result of the assessment of science curriculum to be low. Now, why is it low all the time from 1960s until now? Why do we have very low performance in science? So maybe the evaluation tools or evaluation process that we have been using, asking the same question, and you cannot illuminate. Kaya nga po siya tinawag na illuminative. Because we want to be enlightened by the real reason behind the thing. So, ito po yung model na pwede ko dun. So, iba-iba po ang purpose ng bawat isa. Eisner is the connoisseur. Eisner is Eisner is an art educator, so he would like to evaluate the curriculum from the artist's point of view. So it can be very subjective, but we know that if you're an artist and you ask artists to evaluate an artwork, they would always converge towards something without you telling them this should be the criteria. They know among themselves there's a convergence. And then Posner is also one model. The Posner model focuses on the documentation or the history of the curriculum. Why this curriculum program or this program instituted? What are the reason behind it? So maybe we can go back and trace why was this program started by this school? What is the reason behind it? And if it has not changed over the years, then maybe you have to see whether it is still relevant or not. Okay, I think I intentionally made my presentation brief to allow more questions on the five webinars that we have. So let me have a flashback. So 5 weeks ago, we talked about the review of curriculum studies from curriculum theory, development, definition of curriculum and instruction, and the different models for curriculum design and instructional design also. Then webinar 2, this is focused on the curriculum mapping to ensure alignment from of the different elements, particularly the intent. Okay, how do you do curriculum mapping? And then here, selection of the learning intent and content. What are the criteria that we need to look into? Teaching strategies and assessment. Last week, we focused on the instructional design and how things have to be uh, assessed. And then webinar 5 today. So practically, we have gone through made the 5 major steps in curriculum development, including instructional design. Okay, this is my paper. I want to leave this with just keep learning, embrace new experiences, see opportunities, and surprise yourself. I think there are a lot of good things that are happening because of the COVID. Let's focus on these good things. Let's translate the challenges into something good. I know things happen for a purpose. I think Christians, as Christians, you have to be very sincere. You have to be very uh, trusting in God, that He is in control of everything. So there's nothing to fear about. And we can always bring there's always good news in everything. Every day, we're still alive, we're still here, I'm still here. We can still continue teaching because of the presence of technology. So, marami po tayong dapat pagpasalamat, and let's make every opportunity uh, a chance for us to give glory to God who has given us everything. Lastly, the most complicated skill is to be simple. Okay. Kaya po ako minsan nahihirapan din 'no, kahit sabihin, "Oh, espesyalista na siya sa curriculum, bakit pa siya nahihirapan po ako every webinar kasi hindi ko alam paano ko ipapaabot sa inyo ng simple, madaling intindihin ang mga napakadaming konsepto na pag-aralan ko. So, what I'm presenting to you is already the synthesis of major ideas that can help you. I hope it has helped you. The information would be helpful to you in your current situation. No? So, ganun po eh. Gusto ko kasi simple para madaling intindihan. At alam nyo, kayo mismo, alam niyo na maganda kakalabasan kasi naintindihan nyo yung magandang pagkakasunod-sunod ng inyong presentation. And you yourself is a good judge of your performance. If you feel good at the end of the lesson, it means you did well. there are times you don't feel good after the lesson and you start to reflect. Remember the word reflect. Always reflect and don't rush. Okay, there's always time. Okay, so I'll be entertaining. Thank you very much for being with me for the last 5 weeks, and it has also been a good journey for me to learn as I develop the courses, the webinars for you. Okay, the floor is now open for um, questions from the audience.
Thank you po, Doc Amy. All right, so now it's time for us to entertain questions. So as we have already experienced, we can type in our questions in the Q&A panel beside the chat box. So if you want uh, to clarify anything, you may type your questions at any time in the Q&A box. We'll accommodate as much questions as time permits. To ask a question in person, you will have to indicate first in the chat box that you would like to ask the question in person. And then if you're acknowledged, please accept the invite and unmute your mic and turn on your camera. Microphones will remain on mute and video cameras turned off until given the opportunity to ask the question in person. Maybe if you don't have question, you may also share your insights, your experiences. All right. So in the chat box, ma'am, they are thanking you for your expertise. They are agreeing with you. It was indeed a very informative morning. All right. So we'll just wait for them to uh, type in their questions. But may I just announce that the handouts for episode 4 and episode 5 are now available for download. Just go to the handout panel and download those two presentations.
May I have the permission to tawag dyan, to advertise?
Ah, sure.
Advertise. Okay. So, Brother Mel already mentioned about the Curriculum Studies Association of the Philippines Incorporated. We want to invite everybody to register and be part of our organization. This is organization is really meant to professionalize our discipline. We cannot overlook the importance of curricularists in the school setting to make all of the different processes that we have mentioned. So, and then we have also come up with a lot of activities. We will be we are planning to hold our online conference, national conference, by the end of the year. In partnership with, we have not negotiated, but negotiation is ongoing in partnership with an international Intel company. And then those who are interested to join us at the College of Education, you can get your MA if you're still thinking of your graduate program, what area you would like to get into. I'm inviting you to be part of our uh, family, the curriculum studies area. We have the MA in education, curriculum studies area, curriculum studies major, and then we have the PhD in education, major in curriculum studies. And I'm very proud to say that this is the pioneer program. We started with the PhD 20 years ago, and we're the first university to offer curriculum studies. So, because it's a very new discipline. So we are inviting you, uh, to be part of our family. Okay. Any question? Parang ang lungkot natin ngayon, walang tanong.
Dinadigest pa po siguro nila, Doc.
yung aking mga, this is time for you to ask questions, especially those who are scheduled to do their comprehensive exam this semester.
This is your chance.
This is your chance.
I think they are also interested with the association. So one of our
Yeah.
attendee will be checking it out. So there is a
Yes.
question, ma'am, from
Meron.
Sir Eduardo.
Okay.
Sir is always present in our
Yeah.
sessions. Yeah, thank you, sir. So, ma'am, your model for evaluating the implemented curriculum suggests weekly, monthly, annual evaluation cycles. For something new, such as the 2021 online program of the DepEd for grades 1 to 12, should the results of weekly and monthly evaluations be used to immediately tweak and correct lessons for succeeding weeks and months? Or should DepEd wait for the annual evaluation? All right, let's just wait.
Okay. Pasensya na po, may delivery. Anyway, should should the results of weekly and monthly evaluations be used to immediately tweak and correct lessons for succeeding weeks? Oh, yes. But without compromising the program goals. No? So without changing the instructional objectives. So we can do it a different way on teaching, but definitely we cannot change. Ito po yung rule sa curriculum. You cannot delete any competency, but you can add.
All right.
Okay? Kaya nga, ang hirap dun sa DepEd, naku, sana hindi sila magalit sa akin. Ang dami-daming competency na i-develop. Paano ka pa mag-a-add? Diba? So, hindi nga essential eh. Kasi kung essential siya at core, pwede mo pa siyang dagdagan to enrich it. Eh, kaya, yung iba, naaawa ako dun sa ibang mga estudyante na hindi na ako magsasabi ng eskwelahan. Pero pag may bago, sinabi ng mga magulang, oh, kailangan ganito. Ang initial reaction would be, institute a new subject. Kaya sabi ko, bakit new subject agad? Bakit hindi niyo muna tignan yung curriculum niyo? Saan ko pwedeng i-integrate yung mga competency na gusto ninyo sa mga existing courses, sa mga existing subject. Kaya may mga eskwelahan, imbis na 8 subjects lang, may 12, 10, 20, kasi ang dami-daming dinadagdag na pwede namang i-integrate. So, dun ho pumapasok ang wisdom siguro ng curricularista. Kasi kailangan niyang tignan yung program, buong-buo yung programa. Hindi siya ugnat-ugnat. Kasi it's also, there are a lot of overlaps. No? Sometimes if you institute a new course without a new subject, without really looking at the bigger ones, kasi pwede mo siyang i-integrate sa iba eh. Sa ibang lesson. It's a way, there would be overlaps definitely. It would be a waste of a manpower because you'll be hiring a new teacher only for that subject, which can be integrated in the other existing subjects. And then also materials. And then the students also are so stressed for another subject.
Okay, may follow-up po si Sir Eduardo regarding your response. So
Yeah,
also you're saying a better approach would be keep the competencies set tight, then add more along the way if evaluation shows the students can handle
yes,
more.
definitely. And then, or you can have an acceleration program. So they don't have to stick to the timeline that you're giving as long as you have a very valid assessment, achievement test or assessment tool to tell you that they can handle the next level. Why not do that? Okay. Uh, I don't know if it's in the university we have the advanced placement examination. Nung time ko, 1977. So mga more than 40 years ago yun. But we have the advanced placement examination for freshmen. So we have to take courses, no, examination. So if you pass the exam, you don't have to take English 1, English 2, English 3. Pero may unit credits ka doon, diretso. So, that's also a good way of acknowledging existing knowledge, no, sa mga estudyante. Meron nga nakakapasa ng nakaka-APE ng Math 17. Hoy, ako Math 17, naka-APE siya. Magaling. Okay, may isa pang tanong.
Yes po. Questions are coming in already, ma'am.
Yeah.
So from Ms. Minere Nashad, there are students who have limited or no internet connection. Students want to have learning packet. However, synchronous lessons are not met. Can you give us advice on how we, teachers, help to improve their academic performance?
Very difficult but very valid question. So remember, the learning packets to be very effective, yung mga self-learning modules, they would have built-in questions as if it's the teacher processing the dito, assessment. So, kunyari, you ask them to go through the materials, source of information, no? And then at the end, meron mga examination. Tama ba, no? Examination. Tapos mali yung bata. O kunyari, mali ako sa 5 tanong. Okay. Ngayon, dapat may built-in doon. Bakit alam ng bata? Bakit ako mali? Meron ng agad processing. So, if it's a self-learning module, it's very difficult to write because you have to anticipate possible challenges that each student would meet. Isusulat niyo lahat yun, no, para nakikipag-usap. So, yun yung part ng processing that the computer or anything else cannot do. It's only the teacher who can make the processing. And then, after certain, you determine, and after certain lessons perhaps, no, pag pinadala na sa inyo yung buong packet with all the pangalan nito, with all the inputs of the students, then you analyze the packets, and then maybe you can have a phone call with the students, with the telling him or her what went wrong, how things can be improved, what else can the students do. So, yung synchronous kasi ata sa bata, ang narinig ko sa television, merong set number of hours for grade 1, less than an hour, ilang minutes lang yun eh. So, nakadefine yun. So, problema kung walang internet, di hindi makakausap. May telepono ba? Hindi rin makakausap. Kung hindi, pupuntahan ng teacher. O kaya magkakaroon kayo ng sa eskwelahan, pwede bang pumunta? Hindi ko alam kung bawal. Parang pa-isa-isa lang yung estudyante, mag-meet kayo, parang. So, actually, mas mahirap ngayon, pero very ideal kasi yun nga gusto natin, learner-centered tayo. Pero in face-to-face, bihira mangyari kasi buong klase na yung kausap mo. So, parang mas na-encourage tuloy tayo ngayon, but it's really more work on our part. And that makes me more anxious. Because if you have 15 students in a class, then every week you have to monitor 15 students for one class. But if you have 4 courses to take, so 15 times 4, ilan yun?
60.
60. Oh. Uy, yun lang alam kong i-add. 60 sila. So 60 yung estudyante. O, 24 hours, every minute, kailangan mo i-monitor yun naman. Anyway, next. I hope I answer your question, ma'am.
Ma'am Minere. Alright, another question po from Miss Maria Asuncion. Do schools usually hire someone to do the tracer study because it seems to be a tedious task to trace graduates from as far back as 5 years? Apart from asking graduates their current profession, achievements after having graduated from your school, what does it usually ask in a tracer study?
Okay. Naku, lalabas to sa comprehensive exam. Maria Asuncion is a joke. Anyway, you can tap the alumni association. In most schools, they have the alumni association. And then You can have part of the policy to have the exit interview of those students, no, and then get their contact number to keep track. So madaling i-track yung kakagraduate o gagraduate pa lang. Ang mahirap i-track yung 5 years ago. Pero yung 5 years ago, sila yung maraming pwedeng sabihin sa inyo. Remember, no, this is the rule of thumb. An undergraduate program is good only for the next 5 years of your professional life. After 5 years, you have to study and to equip yourself. Kasi if you look at the ladder, yung professional ladder where you're in, kaya kailangan may in-service training because you are being prepared for the next level in your career path. Hindi pwede yung 5 years na forever na yun. No? Kailangan kang matuto kasi iba na yung susunod na set of competencies for that. Kaya nga 5 years. 5 years yung graduate ng 5 years ago, yung limit. Kasi yun yung pag beyond that, hindi na nila alam kasi may ibang training na sila. Okay, so remember this. Yung undergraduate will only last you for the first 5 years of your professional life for that given profession. Kailangan mag-aral kayo ulit to retool yourself. So, ano pa yung, ayun ano, kailangan meron kayong bank of information. So, kailangan niyang part ng ano, hindi ko alam kung registrar yan. Basta dapat merong isang tao sa eskwelahan ninyo na may, ang tawag dito, graduate, alumni affairs, parang gano'n. Hindi lang para humingi ng donation, kundi para matulungan kayo sa pag-revise ng program for the next generation and what their industry needs. Tapos, apart from asking their current position achievement, so, in present position, ano yung kanilang task, what are the duties and responsibilities of the position, and then we bluntly tell them straightforward, which of these following courses help you in the delivery of your responsibility. So, iti-check nila yung itong course na to, uy, maganda to. Bakit? Ano ang naituro sa inyo nitong courses? Kailan mo siya kinuha? Ngayon, importante po malaman kung kailan kinuhan. Dahil may mga eskwelahan, nalalaman lang nila kapag nagre-review yung kanilang 3rd or 4th year students, pagpasok ng kolehiyo, na yung kanilang biology teacher, hindi nagturo ng genetics. Okay? Hindi nagturo ng genetics. Karamihan ng college entrance exam ngayon, pag sa biology, cellular level po ang tanong. Kaya nung nalaman ng principal yan, inano niya, pinull out niya yung tapos nagbigay sila ng crash course in genetics. So, nakikita natin po yun, maraming ebidensya. Kaya pero pag minonitor yun at the end of grade 8, kung kailan nila kinuha yung biology, dapat nalaman nila na yung mga estudyante hindi marunong mag-compute ng genetic problems. Hindi kasi daw tinuro sa akin. Anyway, isa lang po nito. So, bukod doon, nakafocus kayo dun sa program. Tapos, kunyari, sinabi ng estudyante, meron ito, hindi ko ito natutunan. So, you also have to mention which are the skills that you need right now that were not taught in college. So, yun yung importanteng feedback sa inyo. So, you can use that to revisit your curriculum. Paano nyo siya i-adjust? So, ito yung, you're talking about competencies. So, minsan, syempre, yung mga graduates, di naman nila alaw, sabihin ng competency. So, minsan, tanong nyo na lang, ano ba trabaho nyo? Ano ginagawa nyo? So, yung list of responsibilities would help you very much. Okay, I hope I answer your question, Marion. Next.
All right. From Miss Bernadette, Doctor, is it possible to limit the subjects offered to math, science, English, and Filipino plus PE only for elementary until high school so that there will be concentration?
Ah, okay.
In addition, ma'am, eto po ata. Because I have experienced for so long, students in college do not know how to write a simple business letter for
Okay.
one.
Nako, ma'am. Very appropriate yung question nyo. Kasi kung ako ang gagawa, when I was a doctoral student, there was one question asked. So I think it was in an academic meeting, and we were talking about basic education problems, the curriculum, blah blah blah. Most of my co-participants, we were all science educators, learning about curriculum. And there was one question by the presenter. If you were asked, which would you delete from the program? Science or social studies? Mhm. Yeah. Sagot ni dyan, Ma'am Bernadette. Ang sagot ko dyan ay, delete ang science. Bakit? Kasi, if you look at social studies is the set of all. If I will be asked to make a curriculum, the core should be social studies because social studies would include language in the community, science. If you look at the environment, you can learn science. You can learn about mathematics, but in the context of the society. So it gives a natural link towards relevance, appropriateness, and responsiveness. Okay? Ganun po yung tingin ko doon. So, nasagot ko ba? Is it a limit? Wala dun sa dimension nyo eh. So,
Oo.
ang social studies din may PE. Yung,
Yes.
meron in the, may home economics pa. Meron din sa social studies. So, from the home going to the outside. So, pero, ang tingin natin sa social studies, hindi siya importante. Sabi ko, yan ang pinaka-importante. That's the course that makes good citizens. We don't like citizens who are very good in math, but not patriotic and nationalistic. Okay? So, understanding our society, understanding how we can transform the society by learning to be good citizens in social studies, I think that's good. The social studies teacher will love me. Okay, next.
Okay. So from Sir Jonas Harold, I agree with you, especially in math, Dr. Amy. Sobrang dami po ng competencies. So what we do is we integrate the performance tasks of math to other subjects like English and science. Regarding the tracer study, is it okay if our guidance counselor is the one doing this job rather than the teacher?
Yeah, I think whoever it is, but I think guidance counselor would have also the personal data of their graduates, no? So that can be an added job, an added responsibility for the guidance counselor. So if the school cannot afford to hire someone separately for doing the tracer study as part of the evaluation, then definitely the counselor can do the job.
All right.
Yes, sabi niya, in coordination with the
Coordination.
school's alumni association of our school. Yeah,
Okay.
Lord.
So from Miss Claude, Doc Amy, do you agree with the recommended number of hours with students, considering the number of subjects that we have, plus the instruction and class discussions?
Let us, well, I, I cannot agree or disagree. My only question when I asked that, kasi ang basis nila was not Filipino students. So it is a study by WHO ata yun. Ganun lang daw yung exposure na kailangan. But it's still an experimental basis. Parang sa akin, ah, bakit bakit siya hindi pwedeng more? Kasi kung 30 ilan yun? Less than an hour, it means an hour per subject or an hour for the entire day. Hindi yung klaro sa akin eh. So, 1 hour for each subject ba yun or less than an hour? Or Is it, kasi di ba ang klase natin MWF or Tuesday, Thursday, tama ba ako? So that would be for 3 hours. So pag ganun yun, ang engagement, yung sa synchronous, more on processing lang kayo and then you do the assignments, no? Input of or interaction with materials asynchronously. And then, mga sagot gagawin mo sa synchronous. Pero, yun, mahirap na yun. Kailangan very creative kayo, yung things that will facilitate the discussion. Like, mga key questions should be also limited para pagdating mo dun sa classroom, key questions lang yung i-discuss natin. Now, you can have asynchronous monitoring of the achievement by giving them many assignments or activities. Tapos, ito pa po, no? Even in face-to-face, problema to dahil in most schools meron tayong combination of fast and slow learners or bawal daw gumamit ng slow eh. Mentally challenged ang mga bata. Tapos meron kang yun namang napakabilis. Hindi mo pa tinuturuan eh. Magaling pa kaysa sa iyo. No? So, ang gagawin mo, kailangan magkaroon ka ng differentiated activities. So, meron kang activities na iba para sa isang estudyante na o mga estudyante na medyo nahihirapan. Tapos may enrichment activities ka para doon sa mabilis na parang advanced na bata. Sa DepEd kasi hindi ka pwedeng mamili eh, ng estudyante. Kung hindi ka pwedeng, wala man sila admission test na, gusto lang namin matalino. Walang ganun eh, no? Kailangan lahat tanggapin mo. So kung ikaw ay teacher na napunta ka dun sa section 33, meron section 33 sa eskwela. So, ang challenge doon, hindi yung ano ituturo mo. Ang challenge doon, paano ka magtuturo? So, the class management, yun ang problema.
Yes.
So, minimum ang target natin doon. It would be a different challenge altogether. Well, I hope I can go back to basic ed, no? Kaya lang parang mga apo ko na sila. Okay, next.
Okay, may sharing na po in reaction with the answered question from Maria Asuncion. Thank you,
Sige.
Doc Amy. I experienced something similar when I was a school directress and found out gaps in our math curriculum before and made the necessary changes. Tracer study is very important.
Yes. So, kasi well, nangyari yun. Of course, I cannot tell the principal, are you monitoring? Parang ganun. Kasi there can also be lapses in the monitoring. Na it lasted until the students are almost to graduate, but they did not have any background in the most important part of the biology now, which is the genetics and cellular biology. So, sabi ko, ay naku, babagsak yung mga yan sa admission test ng universities kasi sa biology items, dyan nakafocus eh. DNA, RNA. Anyway, thinking skills. Wala na pong tanong? Gutom na tayo?
Maybe everything was clear for them and they were really agreeing with all the answers. Ayun, meron pa. Ay, nag-thank you lang po si Miss Claude. All right, any more questions?
Any more questions? Yung mga ano bang tawag dito? Yung mga ayan, natutuwa naman ako. Yeah, social science should be integrated. But alam niyo po ako, sinabi na ni Brother Nelo, ang training ko is science, no? So, nandyan po yung logic, very logical, systematic, organized. Gusto ko may structure. Na, tapos, nung nagpunta ako sa education, which is social science, parang, pero dapat ang education should be evidence-based. pag-manage natin yun, evidence-based pa rin. Kaya hindi naman porke sinabing social science, walang logic. Philosophy nandun eh. It's very logical, di ba? So, kailangan meron tayong good balance between these two. Okay? Meron.
May nag-react po, ma'am, dun sa section 33 and 34 math subject teacher here.
Ha?
Yung ano po, number ng sections, may teacher po ng section 33 and 34 ang hawak niya. Good luck po.
Section 33 and 34
Si
mo.
Sir Rick.
Kwentahin mo po sila nung mga namamatay ngayon, saka nagre-recover, yan. Tapos, I think, alam nyo, kaya ako lang 1 minute or 2 minutes, sobra akong daldal. Kaya mahirap ang math, kasi abstract. Hindi mo naman nakikita ang 1. Ano ba ang 1? Nakahawakan mo ba siya? Diba? Unless yung birthday cake na 1, hawakan mo 1. Pero, hindi yun. Nakikita mo ba ang operations? Hindi rin. Hindi siya abstract. Pero, you experience math every day. Kaya nga, very successful ang Singapore math eh. Kasi, siya experiential. So, you can limit and identify essential math competencies. Ang context mo, everyday life.
Yeah.
So, pag nagkwenta ng pera yan, piyado. Alam na nila yung mula 5 hanggang 1 milyon. Yung incentive mo. So, yung ilang kilo. Pero, yun po, I think yung umpisahan natin yung context. Ako hindi ko namimemorya yung mga, galit na galit ako sa physics. Yung
equation.
Pero, physics should be very, relevant. Kasi lahat ng galaw mo may physics. Pero, nung tinuro sa akin ng physics, sabi ko, bakit puro math? Parang napaka-komplikado, blah, 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 blah. So, hindi siya dapat nakatutok dun sa formula. Kung hindi, ito yung isang aspeto. Ito yung ginawa niya eh. So, meron ka ba ibang formula para mas mabilis? Parang gano'n. Anyway. Sige po, kung gagawa po ako ng program sa Filipino dahil po sa ang L1 ng mag-aaral ay English, ano pong curriculum design ang plano niyo sa akin? Ako, Ma'am Raquel, mag-email na lang po tayo kung gagawa po ako ng program sa Filipino dahil po sa ang L1 ng mag-aaral ay English. Language 1 nila ay English. Ano pong curriculum design? So, depende po ma'am kung ano ang purpose ng Filipino curriculum natin. So, let's go back to the learning intent. Tapos, tignan natin kung sino yung mga estudyante nyo at paano natin. Ako nalulungkot ako kasi tinatanggal ang Filipino. Hindi ho ako kontra sa English, no? Hindi rin ako kontra sa Amerikano. Ang problema lang po kasi kapag English, una, nakakalabas ang mga hindi dapat lumabas kasi marunong mag-English. Anyway, lalo na yung matatalino natin. Yung doktor, mayroong nga sa chat group namin, nag-aaway kami kasi wala daw nurses and doktor dito. Doktor siya sa Amerika. Sabi ko sa kanya, di bumalik ka dito para maraming doktor at saka nurses. Kasi wala na yun. Diba, antipatika ako. Pero kasi, nasa labas kayo wala kayo. Ang galing yung criticize. Ba't nyo kami iniwanan? Okay? Which I cannot blame them too. Pero sa ngayong pandemic, parang nakita nyo kung gaano importante. So, yung mga nagsistay dito, yun yung talagang bayani. Dahil nandito sila at pinakikinabangan. Ngayon, bakit din ako, this is just my personal theory, may connection ba ang pagsalita ng Filipino ng Ingles sa ating level of nationalism? Yes, definitely. We tend to take more importance in the culture that is associated with the language. So kung English yan, parang mas gusto mo yung Western kaysa sa pagmamahal sa Pilipino. Kasi, yun. ibang issue na po. Sige ma'am, baka gutom na tayong lahat.
Ma'am,
So, meron po
there is just a question po from one of our attendees. Yung sample daw po, ma'am, ng learning intent content activities na nasa MS Excel. Maybe we could upload it if
okay,
it's
sige. Yung
para po.
template,
Apo,
parang binigay ko na that is part of the
presentation.
the presentation. Kaya hindi ko na siya binigay. Parang one of the slides is the template.
Alright po.
But
Sige
even
po.
then, I can give you.
Sige po. Para po maihabol and ma-download po ng mga
Oo.
nagre-request po.
Sige po. So, wala na.
Are there any more questions po?
Wala na pong tanong. Marami pong salamat dun sa mga bumati. Yan. Inaasahan ko po na ay nako, hindi ko na po inaasahan na meron pa joke. Sabi ni Brother Melo, meron pa daw. Sabi ko, ha? Ganyan ako. Ha? Brother Melo, meron. Well, anyway, it was, it was really a very nice experience. As I said, I only said yes to Don Bosco for webinar. I've been very silent for the past pandemic. I came from the United States just in time for the lockdown here. So, well, I took advantage of the time to reflect on things that I need to be focused on. It was also a reflection sa akin. So, I hope we can take the positive side of what is happening right now. As Christians, we have to be very strong and believe that there is always God who is guiding us along the way. If we are with God, nothing is impossible. So keep safe, everybody. You can keep in touch. You can ask for my email from them. And if you have other questions and if you would like to participate in SUSAPI, you can also direct some of your problems in our organization, and perhaps partnership with Don Bosco and SUSAPI, we can offer something to your school or to your district. So maraming salamat for staying with me for the past 5 Saturdays. It has been a pleasure and a very great learning experience. Mahirap po pala maging artista, kaya ayun. So, marami pong salamat sa inyo. Stay safe and God bless everyone.
Thank you po, Doc Amy. So thank you, ma'am, for the 5 wonderful Saturdays with your expertise. I'm sure everyone really learned and are excited to apply whatever they learned from you with these 5 sessions. We also thank everyone for sharing your time with us, even though it's a Saturday morning. And it's really a wonderful way to end our series today. So reminders for those who haven't downloaded their handouts, it's still available. So just click the handout section and you may see the 2 handouts for episodes 4 and episode 5. Also, you may visit our Facebook page, Don Bosco Press Inc., for the updates on our next projects and activities. And of course, you may contact your SalesianaBooks account executives. You may also view the previous sessions of all the Chalk Talk Online series in our YouTube channel. Just key in Don Bosco Press and hit the subscribe button. Other reminders, those who have registered for today's Chalk Talk Online will be receiving your certificates in 2 weeks' time. And you will also be receiving a recording of today's session through your emails. Lastly, please do accomplish the evaluation survey at the end of this session to help us serve you better. So again, thank you for joining us today and all our other sessions. It was a fulfilling journey with everyone in our SalesianaBooks Chalk Talk Online. This is Tina De Guzman, thanking you, and until next time.
quality education through quality textbooks.